My name is Victor Fuhrman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. In his 1968 tone poem, The Word, Graham Edge of the Moody Blues wrote, "This garden universe vibrates complete. Some may get a sound so sweet. Vibrations reach on up to become light, and then through gamma, out of sight. Between the eyes and ears there lie the sounds of color and the light of a sigh. And to hear the sun, what a thing to believe, but it's all around if we could but perceive." These were mystical words describing subtle energy and the magic that surrounds each and every one of us. There are some of us who have made this magic their life's calling. They may be known as shamans, healers, psychics, and in the pagan world, witches. What is it like to be a witch? How does one know if they have the calling? Are there communities of like-minded practitioners of these for sharing, learning, and support? My guest this week on Destination Unlimited is my favorite witch, Melanie Marquis. Melanie is a lifelong practitioner of magic and founder of the United Witches Global Coven and the organizer of Denver Pagans. She has written for Circle, Pentacle, and the American Tarot Association. Melanie's books include The Witch's Bag of Tricks, A Witch's World of Magic, Beltane, and the 2019 Coalition of Visionary Resources Award-winning biography of Carl Llewellyn Weschke. She's the co-creator of the Modern Spellcasters Tarot and the co-author of Witchy Mama. Melanie lives in Denver, Colorado. Visit her online at melaniemarquis.com. She joins me this week to discuss all things magical and a very special convention she's founded and created for all mystical minds coming up this March in the San Francisco Bay Area, at which I am honored to be a presenter. Please join me in welcoming to Destination Unlimited my friend Melanie Marquis. Good evening, Melanie.
Good evening. Hello, Victor, and everyone out there listening.
So wonderful to have you back on again.
Thanks for having me.
Melanie, for those who are meeting you for the first time, tell us about your path and when and how you discovered magic.
Well, I kind of sort of grew up believing in it. My mom believed in magic, and she was very psychic and read tarot cards and things like that. So from a very early age, she had me practice with just very simple weather magic and doing little simple exercises with candles and playing little psychic drawing games to try to sharpen my psychic skills. So I just sort of didn't doubt it. I didn't understand that it was witchcraft, and I didn't understand that there was, actually like a sacred tradition behind it all until I was much older, around the age of 15, and I discovered some Scott Cunningham books in my local bookstore, and that made me discover, there's other people that, are into this stuff, and there's more to it than I realized. I sort of took it for granted that it's just that's how the universe operates. So I feel very fortunate in that regard that I never doubted it, even if I didn't quite understand all of it, and still don't, I'm glad to say.
Now, your mom started imparting this to you. Did it run beyond your mom? Was it with your grandmother?
I believe so, yes, but my grandmother was very, very Christian, so she wouldn't identify it like that. But my mom had many stories of her using different psalms out of the Bible to stop bleeding and do different healing things, and just different Southern folk magic traditions that aren't thought of as witchcraft, but that it's practiced by lots of old Christian ladies in the South. So I think it definitely runs in my blood in that sense.
Where did you grow up? I never asked you that.
Well, I was born in Hollywood, California. And then I lived in the deserts of Arizona until I was about 8, right on the Mexican border. And then my mom was from Georgia. She had met my dad at the Grand Canyon. They both worked there. But she moved us back to Georgia when she left my dad. So that's where I got my Southern accent, was in the South.
Now, when did you actually declare that you were a witch?
when I was 15 and read some books about it and realized that there was a name for the type of freak that I was.
And what was the reaction? Obviously, your mom understood. What was the reaction of other family members and friends?
Well, I guess I didn't really make a big deal about it. Like the people, I grew up I went to a very conservative high school where most people were religious, and they already thought I was of the devil because I didn't go to church. So I started wearing, I remember I made a necklace out of an acorn and a green and white bead. I thought was very magical, and I started sporting that. And I would sometimes take my books to school, but nobody asked me about it because I think they were kind of afraid of me anyway. So I didn't really declare it, I guess, but I identified like that myself.
And when people actually did find out, what was their reaction?
I don't know. I remember telling, I don't know, honestly. I can't really recall because I don't really share my beliefs with people too much. Like I wasn't very open about it until I started writing books, really. I guess my friends knew I practiced, but it just was never a big deal. I never had a moment of I'm coming out as a witch, Because like I said, everybody knew I was kind of a freak anyway, so it was kind of
So none of your friends
known.
So none of your friends in school asked you about it or showed curiosity about it?
Well, yeah, they would have me do things like they would, give me jewelry to take home to my mom so she could hold the jewelry and do psychometry on it and then, tell them all about it and stuff like that. I did have a friend that started practicing with me a little bit when I was 15, and we would do things like go to this cemetery that was in the neighborhood, and we'd try to communicate with the spirits there, and we'd just do little simple rituals around the tree outside. But living in the South, it just really didn't occur to me that it was, and this was, in the days before the internet, so I just didn't really, it wasn't really a thing that I was aware of oh, this is something I should come out about and declare to people, I didn't really hide it, but I didn't feel like I needed to announce it either.
Yeah, and I guess with an upbringing in the South like that, like you said, there were a lot of people who really may have professed a specific religion, but also practiced folk magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I just preferred to avoid talking about, religion or church. I did go to many churches, with friends and been invited and stuff. I even, at one of them, they even bought me a silver Bible. It was very memorable.
Now, how do you define witchcraft?
Well, goodness, I wouldn't know how to define it so simply. I guess I would say how I personally think of it, and it's something that people define in different ways and have defined in, many countless ways for time immemorial. But how I think of it is that the universe is made of interwoven energies, vibrations that go through everything, that go through us, that flow through the trees, that flow through the rocks. It's the fabric of that reality and creation and the universe is made of. And I think of witchcraft as being a way to sort of reweave the fabrics of reality. I believe that some people have an inherent ability to sense these underlying threads, sense these underlying energies that are inside of us all, that are inside of everything. And I feel that people who have natural magical abilities are able to draw these different energies together, sort of like you're making a delicious soup. And you add a sprinkle of this and a dash of that, and you combine this with this and mix this with this, and you make something far more delicious than what you had before.
Now, a lot of our listeners may be familiar with Wicca. Is there a difference between witchcraft and Wicca? And if so, please explain.
Yes, there's definitely a difference. While many Wiccans do practice witchcraft in many various forms, Wicca is a specific religion that was founded by Gerald Gardner, and it has its own dogma and religious beliefs associated with that particular path. I believe witchcraft I think of as something more general, more traditional, something that can't be defined by ideology. I feel that witchcraft is a practice that transcends our specific ideologies, and I believe that many people practice witchcraft without maybe thinking of it like that, or without being Wiccan for sure. And there's plenty of Wiccans that are, they might not practice that much witchcraft in their practice. They might be more into different parts of the ideology of it. They might not do it so much like that. But there is a difference, but definitely similarities.
So people who are shamans, people who are healers, people who are psychic mediums, sensitives, these are all people who, in one form or another, are actually practicing some form of witchcraft.
I would say magic. I shouldn't say witchcraft because I think many people are, probably uncomfortable with that term because it's misunderstood. But that is the way that I personally kind of think of it. I sort of think of it as, some people are sensitive to energies in the universe, and we're able to manipulate and work with those energies in different ways. And we come in many forms, and we call ourselves by many names.
And the word magic that we're using is magic with a K as opposed to magic with a C. Where did the derivation come from of magic with a K?
I'm honestly not positive the origins of it. I think it might have started with Aleister Crowley, if I'm not mistaken, but I could very well be mistaken on that. But I think nowadays, I think it's helpful for internet research purposes. Like if you're looking at stage magic, it's kind of annoying to see all this witchcraft stuff and vice versa. So that's why I personally use it today.
My guest is Melanie Marquis. We're going to be talking about the Mystical Minds Convention that she's founded and all things witchcraft and magic after these words on the OMTimes radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human. And she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place, and then they act so surprised when I find them, but I'm like, hello, that's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week is Melanie Marquis. We're talking about the Mystical Minds Convention coming up in March and also all things magic. Melanie, many of us know about fictional covens, but what is a real coven like?
Well, they come in many different shapes and forms, so it's hard to say, but most covens are sort of like families, like, just tight-knit groups of friends that get together to practice magic together, and there might be any number of members in a coven. There's also training covens that are specifically designed to teach people witchcraft and to help people learn more and develop their gifts like that. Some covens are for witches that are already trained, and people just come together. So basically, it's just any group of witches that decides to get together to practice magic and enjoy the craft together.
Now, does one have to be in a coven to practice?
No, absolutely not. Many people practice solitary and prefer to practice alone. Many people sometimes practice alone and sometimes practice with a coven.
And is there a benefit in terms of accumulating or sharing energy to coven work as opposed to solitary practice?
I think there is absolutely that even if people prefer to do things on their own, and I think that this is something that goes beyond just witchcraft. I think that when we combine our energies and come together and make those connections, it's just bound to be all the more powerful and exponentially powerful. There's something just inherently magical about human connection and forging these connections. So when we do this for a sacred purpose, whether it's just coming together with another person to say a simple prayer or to do an intense magical ritual together, that energy is definitely going to be amplified exponentially.
Now, you're very famous for your writing. You're a highly published and successful author and contributed to various magazines. When did you first start writing about the craft?
I think it was about 2007. I wrote my first article for Llewellyn's online journal, and I wrote it. It was called "You Can Talk to the Dead," and I wrote an article about using tarot cards to communicate with spirits. And I wrote my first book didn't come out till 2011, but before that I started writing for the Llewellyn almanacs, like the Magical Almanac and some of the witches' calendars and things like that.
And you frequently contribute to the Llewellyn date books and almanacs. Please share about the various Sabbats and celebrations throughout the year.
Well, there's 8 different holidays, and they're basically designed to celebrate the change of seasons and the tide of the change of the seasons. You have around Halloween is one holiday, and that marks the shift into the new year, and it's kind of like everything's dying away, so you mark that. And then you have in December, the beginning of December, I'm sorry, not the beginning, the winter solstice, you have another holiday that's Yule that celebrates the rebirth of the light is coming soon. There's all this different symbolism to kind of like mark the tides of nature. They're on the solstices and equinoxes, and then at the cross quarter days, which marks the points between those days. But what's interesting is actually in if you go back in history and look at traditional pagan cultures, there wasn't really a culture that practiced all of these 8 Sabbats that are now common in what's known as the Wheel of the Year for modern pagan practitioners. Most cultures either celebrated like one or the other, but not all. They either marked the solstices and equinoxes, or they marked some in between points between these days, but not all of them. But now we have all of them, which I think is I think it's good, because as the seasons change, humans change, and just as nature is changing, we too sort of experience these things. And winter, there's sort of a self-protection and a turning inward. And in spring, there's this, hope and new rebirth and, for urge for new life and new growth. And we're also a part of nature. So I believe that these witches' holidays sort of remind us of that and help us to connect with nature throughout the year.
And these really go back to ancient history.
Yes, and for anybody who is interested in learning more about the Sabbats, there's this, there's a lot, and there's a lot to it. But Llewellyn made a wonderful series of books called the Sabbath Essential series, and I actually wrote 2 of the books. I wrote Lunazid and Beltane for that series. But it's just a series of books, one about each little Sabbath, and it's got some of the history of the holiday, some of the modern expressions of the holiday that has recipes, crafts, and they're just really nice little handy books to have.
Now, the word pagan, where does that come from, and what does it actually mean?
I believe it means country dweller. I'm not sure of the exact etymology as far as where exactly the word sprang from. But in modern sense, the modern use of the word was actually kind of what do you call it? Resurrected by Oberon Zell, who sort of claimed that for his community way back in the day in the 60s, I believe, when he started getting into things like that. He decided to describe his group as pagan. So he kind of brought back the modern use of that term as it describes people who are modern practitioners of it.
And do all modern practitioners of magic consider themselves to be pagan, or are there different types? I
think there's definitely very different types. People are very particular about the ways they identify and what they are and what they aren't. I've met witches who don't want to identify as pagan, and I've met pagans that don't identify as witches. There's just all kinds of overlap, and it's just very, very personal how we choose to label ourselves and identify. So,
now, please tell us about some of the best-selling books that you've authored for Llewellyn.
Well, my best, most popular is the Modern Spellcasters Tarot deck. It's I did that. Scott Murphy carried out the artwork for me, so I got to design all the images for that tarot deck, and it's designed specifically for magical purposes as well as for divination. So you can use it for things like sharpening your psychic skills or attracting abundance or gaining success or confidence and things like that. My favorite book that I've written, though, is the biography of Carl Llewellyn Weschke, who is the owner of Llewellyn Worldwide, my publishing house, until he passed away several years ago. And been writing and researching that book, it led me on this amazing adventure of researching all of this magical history of America, basically, and seeing how it really built up, how the magical culture in America built up around, basically just making all these books available on psychic development, on doing magic and spell casting, on crystals, on UFOs, even on all these different topics that people could learn from and expand their minds. So that's definitely my favorite book. But I like all my books, I must admit.
Tell us about Witchy Mama. What was that about?
I wrote that with my friend Emily Francis, and we wrote that basically to just basically remind mothers that children grow up so quickly, and it's just such a shame to look back and realize, I should have enjoyed these moments instead of feeling so stressed out in the moment, letting the frustrations get to me. So we wanted to write a book that gives people just different little simple ways to relieve stress, simple ways to, to just make motherhood more magical and bring more magic into the process of pregnancy, ways to commune with your baby before they're born, ways to use crystals and stuff to calm your energies and to bring happiness throughout your day if you're getting really frustrated, and ways to decorate your home that'll be more pleasant and joyful for you and the baby. Just simple little exercises like that to help parents kind of connect more with their children in magical ways before it's too late to enjoy those days.
Now, you were blessed with a mother who shared the magical energy with you. What would you say to parents of children who are showing an ability to work with energy, to work with magic? How would you tell them to develop their kids?
Well, I would say, first of all, just don't get in the way and don't interfere. And I think that kind of goes with whoever your child is showing that they are. If it's a positive thing and it's not harmful to them, I think that, whenever a child is expressing their own creativity and their own imagination, that's something that we should encourage and, allow that to flourish instead of telling kids that that's not right or that it's their imagination. I think that's very, very damaging to do that to kids. My favorite game that my mom played with me that was just very fun, I still love to play this game, and I love to do it with groups whenever I get a chance, is the psychic drawing game. And basically you just have you and a friend get a piece of paper, and then you take turns drawing an image. Like one person will start drawing something simple, like, stick figure with a tree and a dog or whatever it might be. Then the other person, without looking at what they're drawing, tries to just telepathically kind of psychically pick up on what the other person is drawing, and the person drawing tries to transmit that image into the mind of the person, and then you compare your drawings, and it's just absolutely fascinating the amazing results that most people have with this. And you might need to practice with different people at different times before you can get a strong connection, but you'll see definitely like similar patterns in the image, similar shapes. Sometimes it'll be like almost exact. So I urge you all to play this game. It's super fun. And we will also be playing it at my convention, the Mystical Minds Convention.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that in a minute or so. And so with all children, depending upon the gifts that they come into this world with, their interests, the things they're fascinated by, it's so important to encourage your child as opposed to putting them on a different path.
Absolutely. Well, it's very funny. My son is very skeptical, and he just kind of laughs at it and shakes his head and smiles at me. I like to freak him out sometimes, but my daughter is a natural. She's just always mixed up little potions in the backyard, and she's super magical. So I practice stuff with her a lot because she's come to me with it.
Wonderful that you can share. My guest this week is Melanie Marquis, fabulous witch, author, and the founder and creator of the Mystical Minds Convention coming up this March. Melanie, tell us about that, please.
Well, I'm so excited about this. We're going to have the Mystical Minds Convention, and what it's going to be is it's going to be bringing the paranormal community together with pagans, with witches, with people who are into metaphysical practices, New Age people who are into the New Age interests. It's going to bring all of us together. We've got tarot readers, we've got paranormal investigators, witches, magicians, mediums. We have people of all types that are into all these different mystical phenomenon, and I'm really excited to get us all together in one space at last so that we can share ideas. And we're going to have presentations on all these different topics, and we're also going to have panel discussions that I think are going to be phenomenal because we'll be able to see all these different perspectives on these different practices. So I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for networking and expanding our perceptions and just really meeting a lot of cool people and bringing us all together in a way that hasn't really been done enough of. So I'm super excited to see what comes of it.
And I'm so honored that you invited me to participate and present. And please tell our listeners where they can find out more about this.
You can go to mysticalmindsconvention.com and you can register for tickets on there. You can see all the presenters, read their bios. You can see all the wonderful things that we have scheduled and find out about how to get a discount on the hotel room. And it's located in a wonderful area. It's in Newark, California, which is an enclave of Fremont. So it's right on the East Bay. It's convenient to San Francisco, to San Jose, to Oakland, to Palo Alto. It's not a far drive from any of the places in the surrounding region. So it's going to be a great opportunity to come together. So just go to mysticalmindsconvention.com and get your tickets.
And we'll talk more about the Mystical Minds Convention and all things witchcraft after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
You're listening to OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week is the wonderful Melanie Marquis, my dear friend, wonderful witch, wonderful author, and the founder and creator of the Mystical Minds Convention coming up in the San Francisco Bay Area this March. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about magic. One of the concepts common to all magical work is holding energy. What does that mean, and why is it important?
Well, I think that holding energy just sort of means gathering the energy together that you want to work with, whether it's you're calling on, the energy of healing, or you're calling on a specific deity, or you're calling on the energy of a specific tree. Whatever energy you're working on, you can bring that energy to you and work with it in a space. So that's what I personally consider holding energy, is that we literally are containers for energy, and this energy goes beyond our boundaries, and we can make our container of energy as large or as small as we absolutely want. So to me, the concept of magic is you're picking different energies, just like you're making a soup. You're calling on these different energies that you want. You get these together in one space, whether that space is just within your body or within your immediate surroundings or a much larger space. and you see all these energies together. And then, holding these energies there, then you're able to manipulate these energies. You can combine them different ways. You can amplify them different ways. You can refine them. You can separate them. You can do different things to manipulate these energies while you're holding it, and then release it and let it go.
I've worked in groups and with groups where energy has been shared for the purpose of healing, for the purpose of learning. And I've got to say that the feeling that's generated when a group of people get together and share energy and hold the space like that, it's unlike anything that I've ever experienced outside of that type of an organization or group. Do you agree to that?
I do agree. I think that, I think just with so many people involved, like the more people you have, or if it's the right people, like it just opens up the flow so much where we're able to, literally be a larger space and a larger opening for more to flow through us, more of the energy of spirit, more of the energy of creation, just sort of like a faucet. If you have a tiny little hose nozzle, you can only get so much out of it. But if you have, a giant opening, there's going to be a flood. So the more people you have, that's all the more space that can be open and generated. So all the more that can flow through. It's amazing.
And in your books, you've written about potions. What are potions and how do they work?
Well, a potion is any sort of liquid imbued with magical purpose. From holy water, I would consider that one of the most famous potions on earth. Just from, you could take some water and add some spices or herbs to it. Just different things like that. Any kind of liquid concoction that's imbued with a magical purpose. And a book that I just wrote that's coming out this August, the Little Book of Moon Spells, has a whole ton of lunar potions in there for different purposes. And some of them are very simple, like you can put, some moonstone and crystals and some water and do different things to charm that up with the energies of the moonlight. And then you can use that as a potion to anoint yourself to try to help open your psychic senses before you do divination work and things like that. One thing that's very important to remember about potions is that unless you are absolutely certain that all the ingredients are edible, you do not want to ingest your potion. And this includes stones, because actually, and this might shock a lot of people, but actually many stones have different substances that can dissolve in the water and be extremely toxic to the human body. So you have to be very, very careful. Like, I personally love to make potions and put stones in it, but I never drink these. There's many other ways to use potions. You can anoint your ritual tools. You can put it around your space. You can put it on your skin if it's not toxic to the skin. Different things like that. So just if anybody wants to play around with potions, that's completely fine and fun to do, but just make sure you're playing around with edible ingredients. Like you can even make a potion out of, one of my favorite morning potions is coffee with some cinnamon in it for extra boost of power.
I think we all can use that potion from time to time.
So just stir it up while you're imagining just being so energetic and see yourself just bounding with energy, and then send that energy through the spoon and into the cup as you stir, and then it'll be good to go.
What about love potions? Are they real?
Well, some people would say no. Some people would say yes. I think you can definitely make potions that can produce some effects that some might confuse with love. But, well, I don't know. I personally think it's just kind of a matter of what you want to do with it. Because if you're talking about a love potion to force somebody to fall in love with somebody, well, that's not love, because the nature of love is not to control. So, you can make somebody become obsessed with somebody, or infatuated, but it's not love. It's a controlling type thing, and control is completely the opposite of love. Love is freedom. I do believe that you can make a potion, for instance, that would encourage feelings of love within people, the true spirit of love, just a loving energy, a good, positive, loving energy to flow in a home, in a space. I believe you can definitely make a potion that can encourage feelings like that to flow.
Is there karma involved if someone tries to force their will with potions or other magic upon others?
Many people believe so. I personally believe that it just kind of depends on the situation. I guess I'm more of an old fashioned, sometimes bad witch, in that if I don't know. Sometimes there are people that pose physical threats to others. Sometimes there are people that are extremely bad, evil people that are perpetuating cruel things in the world. And I personally feel that, my opinion, for those who are able to and willing to work some of the darker forms of magic, I personally believe that it's a good thing to, use your powers to fight evil. So I personally, sometimes I have, maybe done some more negative, darker types of magic against people who are like a physical threat to my mother, for instance, is what I'm thinking of right now. And I do feel like that was justified, and I don't feel like that there's karmic effects in something like that. But when it's not justified, I believe absolutely there's karmic effects, and often it just will rebound on the caster anyway, if it's just for selfish gain reasons or for revenge.
What are spells, and how are they created?
Well, a spell is any type of formula that you can use to help create your magical intent. It's sort of like a prayer, but a little more hands-on and involved, and a little more exacting. There's many different formulas for spells. Some can work in an instant, just in a charm or with a symbol. Other times it's more like you're basically sort of like play acting and recreating the conditions that you want to happen. Remember I was talking about drawing energy together. So I'd say the first step is you call together the energies that you're going to work with in this spell, whether it's just your own personal power or a deity you work with, or the energy of the moon, or whatever it might be. And then when you have all that energy there, then you want to think about what it is that you want to create. Think about the end goal. Say if you want a great job with great money, then you would see and feel in your heart, you'd see yourself having this great job and see yourself really happy and successful, and feel that feeling in your heart that you're wanting to conjure or create. Or if it's a resource you want to get, you see that resource in your hand and you feel that you have it there. And you can use these visualizations and that feeling. You can then project that energy throughout the energies that you've called there to sort of program that energy, almost like you're running a computer program, to kind of code the energy that's all there. Then you amplify that energy and magnify it as big as you can get it. Well, it's coded with your intent to make this happen. Then you just, you release it out into the wider universe, or you can release it into an object, like a necklace that will then become your magical charm to attract this thing to you. Or you can release it back all over yourself if it's something meant to have effect on you personally, like more confidence or something like that. So they can work in many different ways, but I think that's the basic formula.
What about curses? Are they real? And if so, how may they be broken?
I believe they are definitely real, and how they're broken just kind of depends on how it's cast. In my book, The Witch's World of Magic, I actually examine a whole lot of different curse-breaking techniques and cursing techniques from around the world. So there's many different methods in that. The simplest, if you actually can find an object that was used and you can destroy that object. I think one good method is you can kind of make a decoy thing to kind of, I guess that would be more preemptive. To you can make these protective objects to kind of thwart a curse, before that. Before it comes to you or whatever. But you can do things like just reflect it back. You can send a stronger curse. You can, I think, basically overpowering it with something better and brighter works well. Threatening that energy and just basically overpowering it, overcoming it, sending it back through means of reflection, or diminishing, or just flat out destroying it with a greater power.
Some folks have bad luck or difficulty in life, and they say, I'm cursed. How would they know if they're actually cursed?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think sometimes if you don't remember parts of the day, for instance, if you find yourself acting in very odd ways that aren't you, if you just feel strange pains in weird parts of your body that shouldn't be there. If you wake up tired, even if you got plenty of sleep, things like that can be indicators. But it is important to not be overly paranoid about that, I think, and just ask yourself, do you know anybody that's likely to actually do that? Because out of most people that practice magic, maybe only 0.5% ever do occur. So it's very unlikely in most situations.
Well, I just turned 67 years old, and I feel that way every day when I wake up in the morning. And I know for sure that I'm not cursed. I'm just getting up there in age, that's all. My wonderful guest is Melanie Marquis. She's the founder and creator of the Mystical Minds Convention coming up near the San Francisco Bay Area this March. We'll talk more about that and more about witchcraft in the next segment after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Change and growth are part of natural life, and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
I get it. Your desk has been there for you, holding up your computer, your unused stapler, and that plant you forgot to water. But maybe it's time to leave your desk and spend your lunch break volunteering with Meals on Wheels.
Doing Meals on Wheels for me is the joy that I look for at the end of my week. I'll come to the door with one meal and I'll walk away with a full heart.
Drop off a warm meal and get more than you expect. Volunteer at americaletsdolunch.org. That's americaletsdolunch.org. Brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Back on Destination Unlimited, my guest this week is my friend Melanie Marquis. She's a witch, she's an author, and she's the founder and creator of the Mystical Minds Convention coming up later this year in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're going to be talking a lot about that in this segment. But before we do, let's start talking a little bit more about magic. What can the average person do to bring a little magic into their everyday life?
Well, you could start by simple things like just sort of testing your magical abilities. You try something like just write down on a piece of paper a simple statement of some sort of intent that you have, and something written in the positive. Say, like if you want, greater. Say if you want to meet more friends, you write on the piece of paper, I will meet new friends, something like to that effect. I will meet more friends soon, or something like that. Very positive statement. And you want to phrase it in the positive terms. Like if you want money, you wouldn't want to write, I need more money. You'd want to write something like, I will have more money, something like that. Write it in a positive intent, whatever it is that you want to just test out. You might want to start with something simple. And take this paper and just hold it, and really think about it, really call on some of the forces that you personally believe in, whether it's ancestors or whether it's the powers of nature, whether it's a god or goddess you identify, and call on these energies and ask them to help you with this intent. And when you're feeling those energies that you're calling on, send those energies into that paper. And then you just carry that around with you for a few days and just to see what effects you have. Test it out for yourself. Or just do simple things like, to me, it's not magic per se, but one of the simple ways to me to get in touch with nature is to just literally touch nature. Go outside, pick up stones, put your hand on a tree, put your hand on the ground, and see what you can sense. See if you can feel the energies in these things, and in turn you can send your own energies into nature. And if you feel stressed, just put your hand on the ground and let all that stress and negativity, imagine it just flowing out of your body, relieving you of that stress and going into the earth. And if you need a boost, just lift your arms up to the sky, to the sun or the moon, and just ask for these energies to pour into you and help you feel recharged and happy. And you just start trying out things like that and see the effects for yourself.
Now, you mentioned putting the affirmation onto that piece of paper and then putting your energy into it and feeling the energy. I know how I feel energy. I'm sure you feel energy. How would you describe to the average person what it feels like to feel energy?
That's something I've been contemplating a lot lately, and I have always believed that this is something everyone can inherently do, but lately it occurred to me that I'm not sure if everyone can do that or not. Perhaps it's something that not everyone has or can be taught, but perhaps it's something I think that everyone probably has some ability, and I think it's definitely something that can be strengthened. But I do feel like some people have more ability than others. And the way to test, I think, is just trying with different objects. Like pick up, hold a crystal, hold a piece of granite. See if these things feel differently to you. It might feel like a pulse, a pulse of energy. It might feel, it just has a different quality to it. One of my favorite exercises is to get like two identical bowls of something. You can use dried beans, you can use rice. I think rice works really well. Anything that looks absolutely identical, you put the exact same amount in it. If you have like little marbles that look identical, you can use something like that. But basically you have one person or a group of people or even yourself charge up one of these items with positive energy or negative energy or whatever it is you want to test, right? Then you have somebody and you leave the other bowl just normal. That's your test bowl or whatever, right? So you have one that hasn't been charged, one that has been charged. You mix those up where you don't know which is which. Then you put your hand over it or you touch it and you try to see, can you feel which one is which? Does it feel differently to you? And most people can feel a difference and they'll be able to tell right away, I guess this is the one that's been charged up. This one hasn't been. But just try different things. Like you can hold a crystal or hold a living plant and then hold a plastic spoon and see if the plastic spoon doesn't really put off. I don't feel anything from a plastic spoon. It just feels like nothing. It's kind of weird, but from a leaf or from a stick or from a rock, I get a different kind of like quality or pulse of energy. Sometimes I might get sort of, a vision, and I might get different scenes of stuff in my mind depending on, what I'm holding or what I'm touching. And you can do this not only with natural objects, but also with personal objects, like try holding a piece of somebody's jewelry, try holding a house key, different things like that, and just see what your mind opens up to you.
I know when I teach people energy and they're exposed to it for the first time, and I ask them to extend their palms out, and I place my palms above their palms several inches, and I say, close your eyes and see if you start feeling something, and they're amazed at the fact that they can feel pulsing, they can feel a magnetic flux taking place. So when you start playing with it and experimenting with it, it's a wonderful sensation.
Yeah, I think maybe I think if people haven't experimented, just experiment and try to send energy, try to receive energy. You can practice with a friend and, do what Victor was just describing, and you have somebody send you energy, and when you can feel it, say now, and then the person can tell you, yep, that's when I started sending the energy, or that was about 3 seconds after, things like that, to just test your abilities, and you might discover that you have, wonderful gifts for these things.
Now, you're the founder of United Witches Global Coven. Please describe its purpose and function.
Well, what we do is mostly an email group that we do sort of privately. We have a network of people that actually live around the world, and we'll get together, sort of coordinating our efforts to do different types of spell work, to do things like avert natural disasters and try to help endangered species. And we also have an online Facebook group that we use sort of like for promotion, and often on there we'll share different petitions for different things like wildlife rescue and different things to prevent poaching and to protect the environment and to combat climate change and things like that. And we'll sometimes couple that with a spell that we offer people to do as a suggestion, or encourage people to also be working their own magic towards these problems we face in the world, while doing actual real life things, to practical actions like donating money, signing petitions, volunteering, things like that, but also using your magical abilities to try to protect elephants and combat wildfires in Australia and things like that.
That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for founding the Mystical Minds Convention. I'm so honored that you asked me to present there. This is coming up March 28th and 29th in Newark, California. How did you come up with the idea for this gathering?
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to have you, Victor, and everyone needs to come see Victor at this thing. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
Basically, my idea was well, for one, I know you, Victor the Voice. I also know a lot of witches. I know a lot of tarot readers. I'm interested in all this different stuff, so I always thought I thought that there should be more crossover and more coming together, because we have metaphysical conventions, we have paranormal conventions, we have pagan conventions, but I couldn't really find anything out there that brought everybody together. So that's what I wanted to create with this, is something that brings together paranormal investigators with witches and other types of pagans, and with people who are into divination, with people who are into crystals, and we even have a UFO researcher that's going to be joining us. So it's going to be really, really exciting. I think it's going to be just super, super wonderful. Like, for instance, we're going to have a panel discussion on spirit communication. And on this panel, we'll have people who are mediums, people who are witches that work closely with the spirit world. We have people who are paranormal investigators who use all the ghost hunting equipment and all these different technologies to communicate with spirits. So I'm super excited to see what these conversations are going to be like, to have all these different perspectives to come together, to learn from all these very knowledgeable people coming to share their ideas about astrology, numerology, magic, UFOs, ghosts, the paranormal, witchcraft, all these different topics. We're going to have a panel discussion on dreams, and one on divination, and one on magic, and then all these individual presentations. And I think it's going to be just a whole lot of fun. I hope that everybody can come out to it.
I am grateful that you asked me to be part of the spiritual communication panel, and I'm also going to be doing the first of my Soulary presentations. It's called Synchronicity, the Magic and Beauty of Meaningful Coincidence. I'm going to share with everyone how to identify synchronicity in their lives and how to run with it, and how to develop and grow and find fulfillment using synchronicity in their lives. So thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this.
Thank you for doing that. I think that's going to be wonderful, and something that everybody's going to be able to benefit from. That's what I'm most excited about, is that that our topics, our presenters are all wonderful, knowledgeable people like you who are able to reach out to others who might be different, who might have some different beliefs, but you're still able to share what you know in such a beautiful, loving way. I'm super excited to have you there and for you to share your wisdom with everyone that comes out for this. It's going to be wonderful.
And who will some of the other presenters be?
We have Jason Mankey, who is an author for Llewellyn Worldwide. We also have Katrina Rasbold, who's an author for Llewellyn. And we have Tommy Starchild. We have Michael Fury. We have Victor the Voice Fuhrman, but you guys already know that. We have Alameda Paranormal Researchers. And we have Charlotte Sanchez Cosa, who hosts California Haunts Radio. We have Don Byrne, I believe is his last name, is a UFO researcher in the area who's going to come out and share with us. We have Beth Silanen, who has created over 100 tarot decks herself. She's an amazing artist. She's also an art educator, and she's going to be doing a workshop on tarot. We also have Nicholas Pearson, who's a very popular author. He's an expert on crystals and mineralogy, and he's going to come out and share some of the magic of crystals with us.
So literally something for everyone's interest. This is going to be March 28th and 29th in Newark, California. How do people find out more about this?
You can go to mysticalmindsconvention.com. For all the details, you'll see all our amazing presenters, like Frederica Turner from New Orleans. She's going to teach about the myths versus the reality of voodoo and hoodoo. It's all the different wonderful people we have. Just take a look and come on out. We've got Clifford Hartley Lowe, who's an expert on astrological magic and medieval magic. We've got just everyone. It's going to be great.
And we're going to have Melanie Marquis. That's going to be the best part of it for me, to meet you finally. We've talked so many times over the years. We've never met. That's going to be a joy for me. And to find out more about Melanie, what's your website, please?
It's MelanieMarquis.com, MELANIEMARQUIS.com.
Melanie, I can't wait to get out there and meet you. Thank you so much, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you.
And thank you for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor the Voice Fuhrman. Have a wonderful week.